And going back to some of their claims of the fact that insurance companies, some of them are moving out of the state or no longer allowing certain policies because they no longer follow the new Affordable Health Care Act guidelines. This is true, and this is indeed something that's actually positive, and it should not be looked at as a negative. Insurance companies should be scared because they're no longer allowed to charge consumers for a false sense of security. As I had mentioned prior, in 2009 and 2010, 67% of the bankruptcies were caused even by medical bills, and 2/3 of those people did indeed have insurance. The problem was that many of the insurance policies offered prior to the Affordable Health Care Act being enacted didn't cover anything. They didn't really cover emergency accidents. They maybe covered, your visits to the doctor once a year, twice a year. They maybe covered a health checkup. They maybe covered some of these small minor things. But if you did get into an accident, as my partner mentioned earlier, there was a dollar amount set that if you did get injured any higher than this, your insurance no longer covered you. So they were charging people for a false sense of security that I have health insurance, I'm fine. Get into an accident, all of a sudden you're bankrupt. That's no longer allowed with the Affordable Health Care Act. Also, they did make a good point that some people are losing their jobs, they're losing hours to the fact that if you have 40 hours or more, now you have to supply your employees with health insurance. This is important. However, this is not a flaw of the Affordable Health Care Act. This is instead a problem of businesses trying to just get out of it. There was guidelines set in place that if you work more than 40 hours, these people have a right to health care. These people have a right to, they're giving you their life basically of how many hours they're working, so you should give them assurance that should they get damaged, you'll take care of their life as well. But now individual companies are trying to get out of this. They're shorting people an hour or two just so they don't have to pay for that. That's not a flaw of the Affordable Health Care Act. That's a flaw of businesses. That's a flaw of trying to make that bottom line, trying not to lose profits as opposed to the Affordable Health Care Act. Instead, there should be new laws no longer allowing this, just as there have been laws from denying people being hired because of their race or ethnicity. This is another law that should be applied like that. My partner also had mentioned that if you're an older person, then you do get a higher premium. You do in fact save money because of the Affordable Health Care Act. These premiums are actually less they're asking for equality for if you're older you should pay the same amount as if you're younger. However, the problem is that if you're older, you may be retired, you may no longer be making any money and you're trying to live off what little you have. If you're older, it's very unlikely that you're going to be doing what would be considered stupid stuff. You may not be going skydiving, you may not be going rock climbing, you may not be doing all these things that are high risk factors that if you were younger, you probably would want to do. And if you're older, you no longer have an interest in some of these things. So yes, your premiums are going to drop because you're less likely to be in horrific accidents that would cost an insurance company thousands of or millions of dollars. My partner had mentioned that before the law, pre-existing conditions were something that locked you out. And now with the Affordable Health Care Act, 17.6 million children now have the opportunity to have health care that they may not have had prior to this because they had pre-existing conditions. In an interview with the White House, before the law, many Americans with pre-existing conditions were locked out or priced out of health insurance markets, which meant that they would still offer you health care, but it's going to cost an enormous amount of money that no one would be able to afford. More than 50,000 Americans with pre-existing conditions have gained coverage because of the new pre-existing condition guidelines saying that you have to allow them. This temporary program allowed health coverage to be more available and more affordable to individuals so that they can afford insurance. Now, many of the things that my opponents are saying, they have made a few points about what if the Affordable Health Care Act was passed, although it was already passed 2 years ago now. So what's going to happen to the individuals if we do revoke this? What's going to happen to the 10 million new subscribers should we take this away? How are we going to just go back to before this was enacted? We can't just flip a switch. You've already spent millions upon billions of dollars on the system in the hopes that it would work. And it is doing quite well. It does cost a little bit more money, but that's because we're giving Americans no longer just a false sense of security that I have health care, I'm safe. No, now you're required to pay a little bit more so you can get a better health care, so that you can get a better health care plan because this is better for you. It costs a little more, but should you get into a deadly accident, you will no longer go bankrupt because your plan will actually cover you. In the event of an accident, you will no longer be denied coverage because there's a dollar premium. No, this is no longer allowed. There are things in place that do cost a little bit more upfront, but long term are there to protect you.
He's
Oh,
got the time wrong.
Thank you.
You're a minute over.
Okay. Have a good day.